He didn't even hesitate. He shuffled the deck, closed his eyes, pulled a card, and whispered, Her name starts with A. I laughed. Because it was supposed to be a game. Something cute, fun, flirty. A romantic little ritual on a wine-drenched Tuesday night. But when I looked up and saw the way his face changed, how he swallowed too hard, how he wouldn't meet my eyes, how he suddenly needed to adjust the playlist, I knew. This wasn't intuition. This was a confession. And her name was Aubrey. Let me back up. I'm not a witch or anything. I don't cast spells, burn hair, or hex my exes. Well, not literally. But I do like tarot. And crystals. And moon water. And the occasional, pick a card to see who your future husband is. YouTube video at 2 a.m. when my anxiety needs direction. I don't live by it. But I do listen to it. Because sometimes the universe whispers things we're too scared to say out loud. His name was Connor. Yes, that kind of name. Soft jawline, Patagonia fleece, used the word alignment like it was a personality trait. We met at a sound bath plus cocktail pop-up downtown. I made fun of his fake rustic beard oil. He made fun of my moon tattoo. We had sex that night. Fell into something we didn't call a relationship, but also didn't not call one. It was soft launch exclusive. He posted my hand once. I posted a coffee cup across from mine with his hoodie in the background. We weren't perfect, but I liked him. More than I was willing to admit. And when I started pulling cards about love timelines, his face kept showing up in my mind. So I thought, let's make it a thing. Let's do a couple's reading. Cute, right? I ordered Thai food. Lit a candle. Put on a playlist called Mystic Chill Femme, Don't Judge Me. Laid the cards out on the coffee table. He came over in sweatpants and kissed me like we were already a forever thing. You're the only girl who makes witch shit sexy. He joked. I smiled. Because I believed him. We did a 3-card pull, past, present, future. Past, the lovers. Present, the 2 of swords. Future, the moon. I laughed. So basically, we've been in love, now we're confused, and the future is full of secrets. He shrugged. Pretty accurate. We both smiled. But then I said, wanna do something fun? And he said, always. So I handed him the deck. Shuffle it, then pull a card. Let's see who's showing up in your future. He grinned. Closed his eyes. Breathed in like we were at a yoga retreat. He pulled a single card. Laid it face down. Paused. I raised an eyebrow. Dramatic much. He didn't laugh. Just flipped it over. Page of Cups. He stared at it too long. So I asked, half joking, what do you see? He said, her name starts with A. My stomach dropped. See, here's the thing. He didn't say Ashley or Amelia or Amanda. He said it like he already knew. Like he'd seen the card and decided to say what was already true. And that's when it clicked. A week ago, I saw a message on his phone from someone saved as Aub. It was quick, it was nothing. I didn't want to snoop. I told myself not to be that girl. But suddenly, I was her. And he had just said her name. I sat very still. You okay? He asked. I nodded. Too quickly. You sure? Totally just processing. He got up to pour wine. Changed the music. Talked too much. I watched him from the couch like I'd never seen him before. My mind screamed. Ask him. Say something. Confront. But I didn't. I sat there. Sipping wine. Smiling. Because I wanted to know more. Because I wanted to see what would happen next. Because I knew this wasn't over. It was just the beginning. He said I was the only girl who got him. I didn't realize he said that to anyone who knew how to shuffle tarot cards and make him feel interesting. Let me paint the picture. Connor was the kind of guy who kept his trauma in a playlist, who journaled in lowercase letters, who called every woman before me chaotic, but also followed them on Instagram from his Finsta. He wasn't toxic, not in the obvious way. He was emotionally fluent. The kind of man who knew how to say, "I'm holding space for your feelings," while carefully avoiding any kind of actual commitment. And I was the perfect audience. We met at a rooftop event I was dragged to by my friend Zara. There was a kombucha stand and a silent disco in the corner. He stood out, tall, relaxed, sipping something in a mason jar and wearing a shirt that said "Stay Soft" in Helvetica. He asked if he could sit next to me. I said no. So he sat anyway. I told him I read tarot sometimes. He said my last girlfriend burned her deck after we broke up. We laughed. I should have known then. But you know how it is. Red flags look cute under mood lighting and ambient DJ beats. Our first date wasn't a date. We ran into each other at a bookstore and spent 4 hours sitting on the floor in the poetry section, reading Pablo Neruda to each other and pretending we weren't two very damaged people projecting love onto strangers. That night, he walked me home and said, "I don't want to rush this, but it already feels safe." I believed him, even when he never once used the word relationship. Even when I asked, "Are we seeing other people?" and he said, "Do we need to define everything?" I nodded, because I wanted him to stay. We had inside jokes, favorite Thai orders, a shared playlist called Soft Places that we added sad girl indie songs to when we missed each other. But we didn't have a label. Not because he was afraid of commitment. No, because he was deconstructing heteronormative timelines. I told myself I was mature, modern, evolved. But the truth, I was scared. Scared that if I asked for more, I'd lose him. So I didn't ask. I just hoped. There were signs. Like how he never let me tag him in stories. How he always turned his phone face down during dinner. How he said, "I love how present you are," when I didn't check his location like I wanted to. One time, I left a scrunchie at his place. The next time I was over, it was gone. I asked. He said, "Oh, my sister probably moved it." He doesn't have a sister. I knew that. But I let it go. Because the moment I started doubting him, I started doubting us. And if I doubted us, maybe it meant I built everything on wishful thinking. And I couldn't handle that. So I leaned harder into the magic. I lit more candles. Did moon rituals. Pulled cards for clarity. They always said the same thing. Patience, transformation, hidden truths. I thought it meant we were on the verge of something deeper. But maybe the cards weren't showing me my future. Maybe they were showing me my denial. The night of the tarot reading, the night he said, "Her name starts with A," it all snapped into focus. Because I realized something. Connor never lied to me. He just spoke in riddles. He told me I was the most grounded soul he'd ever met. That he'd never felt safer in silence. That I had witch energy that scared him in a good way. And I thought that meant love. But really, it meant I was easy to romanticize and easier to discard. The day after the reading, I did what I told myself I'd never do. I checked his phone. He was in the shower. The lock code, my birthday. He probably thought that was cute. I scrolled fast. And there she was. Aubrey. Multiple texts. Voice notes. A picture of them holding hands under a caption that said, "Magic happens when you finally feel seen." My heart stopped. The timestamp. 2 days before our tarot night. I closed the phone. Got dressed. Left his apartment without saying a word. He texted later. You left your earrings. I replied. Did Aubrey see them, or should I send her a pair? He didn't answer. Because he knew. And now. So did I. The worst part wasn't that he said her name. It's that I already knew it weeks ago and did nothing. Like my own silence was part of the spell. I didn't confront him. I confronted myself. I lay in bed that night, surrounded by candles and shame, thinking about every moment I swallowed my gut instinct and called it spiritual maturity. I'd let the universe decide for me. I'd outsourced my clarity to decks of cards, full moons, astrology posts, and divine timing. And all the signs had been screaming. But I'd been too enchanted by the aesthetic of love to look at its structure. Because what kind of woman pulls the Tower card 4 times in 1 month and says, probably a fluke? Apparently me. The next morning, Zara called. Zara is my best friend, but she doesn't do tarot. She does bluntness. So, are we burning his apartment down or just keying his bike? I didn't laugh. I told her everything. About the reading. The name. The phone. She didn't even pretend to be shocked. Girl, his vibe screamed love bomber with a Spotify premium subscription. That's the thing about friends. They see what you can't. And they don't need a crystal grid to do it. I spent the next few days spiraling. I reread our old texts. Listened to the Soft Places playlist like it was a breakup album, even though we'd never officially been together. I cried when I heard Cherry Wine. Not because of the lyrics. Because I remembered how he once said it reminded him of me. And I thought that meant forever. Not for now. I couldn't sleep. I started pulling cards again. I pulled the High Priestess. Then the 7 of Swords. Then the Devil. I reshuffled. Again, the Devil. I laughed. Out loud. In the dark. At myself. Because I'd treated tarot like it was going to save me. But all it did was mirror me. And what I saw was divine feminine in bloom. It was a girl who romanticized men, who made her feel psychic when they were just predictable. 2 days later, I got a DM from a random account. Username @AuraWitchLuna. Hey, just wondering, are you the girl who does tarot with Connor? I froze. I replied, I used to, why? She sent back a screenshot. It was from Aubrey's story. A blurry repost of my tarot setup. The caption, he pulled my name, she still didn't leave. Wild. My stomach dropped. They knew. They'd talked about me. They made me the plot twist in their cosmic little love story. And suddenly, it all made sense. He wasn't trying to hide me. He was using me. I was the symbol of unfinished energy. The karmic lesson he could tell his new girl he had finally moved past. And she was the victory lap. The healed masculine finally choosing transparency. How poetic. How bullshit. That's when I stopped crying. And started scripting. Because if I was going to be a character in their story, then I was going to take my narrative back. That night, I recorded a TikTok. Just me, soft lighting, deck in hand. Tonight's reading is for the girl who thinks she won, because he picked her name out of a card. I pulled the tower. Held it up to the camera. Smiled. Just remember, baby, the tower doesn't fall by accident. It falls because the foundation was a lie. Buckle up. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. The video hit 100K views in a day. The comments. This is exactly what I needed. Not me crying over someone else's story. Tagging my ex's new girlfriend. Aubrey saw it. I know she did. She unfollowed me the next day. Good. Let her run. Because I wasn't in the triangle anymore. I was looking down on it. From above. He texted me 3 days later like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't pulled her name out of a deck while sitting cross-legged in my living room, sipping wine I paid for, under candles I lit. Hey, that reading was intense, lol. You good? I stared at the screen. He still used lowercase. Still threw in lol like a band-aid for betrayal. Still acted like my heartbreak was a vibe. I didn't reply. He double texted. You left your silk scarf here. Want me to drop it off? My silk scarf. The one I wore that night. The one he moved aside to kiss my neck right before channeling the spirit of Aubrey through a fucking tarot card. I should have blocked him. I should have burned the scarf. I should have thrown my phone into a salt circle and saged it until the battery died. But instead, I said, sure, come by tomorrow at 6. Because I wanted him to see what regret looked like. Face to face. Without candles or playlists or ethereal bullshit. Just me. Unbothered. Armed with truth and a little bit of petty. He showed up in his usual emotional availability outfit. Loose black tee, silver chain, unreadable expression. I opened the door in silence. No smile. No hug. Just eye contact, sharp enough to slice through his fake zen. He handed me the scarf. You look grounded. I tilted my head. You look underread. He blinked. You watched the video. You inspired it. He smiled. Smiled. So you're turning it into content now. I leaned against the doorframe. Better than turning women into practice runs for your next apology tour. He laughed like I was cute. Like this was banter. But then he tried to shift. You know, I did pull your name once too, a few weeks ago. I stared at him. Did you tell Aubrey that? He blinked again. No, it didn't feel aligned. I stepped closer. Or convenient. He sighed. You're being cruel. I stepped even closer. No, Connor, I'm being clear. Cruel would have been nomming you in the video. Cruel would have been tagging her. You think this is helping you heal? No, I know it is. You know what's not helping? Letting men like you turn my intuition into a joke. He tried the classic. I never meant to hurt you. I smiled. I don't think you mean anything, Connor. That's the problem. You drift, you suggest, you imply. And the moment someone believes you, you pull the hermit card and disappear. He looked away. That's not fair. It's not supposed to be. Fair would have been not inviting me into a love triangle disguised as spiritual alignment. A silence. Just the sound of the wind through my windows, and the weight of everything he never took responsibility for sitting between us like a third ghost. Before he could answer, I held up the scarf. Here, what I'm gonna do. I'm going to sage this. Then I'm going to tie it in my hair and film another video. This time about men who pretend to be deep to dodge accountability. That's manipulative. I raised my eyebrows. So is pulling a card for your girlfriend and nomming the woman you're cheating with. He had nothing. Absolutely nothing. I closed the door in his face. That night, I lit a new candle. Put on eyeliner like it was armor. Tied the silk scarf around my ponytail. And filmed. Tonight's message is for anyone who mistook inconsistency for mystery, who thought breadcrumbs were signs, who believed in a man who spoke in metaphors instead of answers. I pulled a card, judgment. The truth always finds its way out, and when it does, it doesn't need an invitation, just a camera and a story. I posted it. 1 hour, 10K views. 3 hours, 50K. Next morning, 120K. And in the comments, who is she talking about? Connor's crying RN. This is savage in the most elegant way. Teach me your detachment. I was Aubrey. I didn't reply to any of them. I didn't need to. Because I wasn't doing it for revenge anymore. This wasn't about him. or even her. It was about reclaiming the voice I kept soft for a man who only liked me when I was mystical and malleable. He pulled a card. I pulled the audience. And this time, the reading was for me. It wasn't the lie that broke me. It was all the times I told myself it wasn't one. After the door closed on Connor, I stood there. Still. Silent. Not shaking. Not crying. Just empty. Not because I missed him, God no. But because I realized I'd spent so long trying to be cool with everything. Cool with ambiguity. Cool with fluid labels. Cool with his past, his process, his hot and cold spiritual self-awareness. And that silence, the one I kept around my own instincts, wasn't grace. It was self-abandonment dressed in sage smoke. I used to think being evolved meant staying quiet while a man figured himself out. That it was petty to ask for clarity. Unhealed to want definition. Insecure to need reassurance. But the truth, it's not enlightenment if you have to betray yourself to keep it. That realization hit harder than the betrayal itself. Because Connor was just one guy. But I was the one who kept choosing him, every time I stayed silent when something felt off. And not just him. Every version of him before. The guy who said, "I'm just not in a place for a relationship right now," while sleeping in my bed 3 nights a week. The guy who said, "You're unlike anyone I've ever met," then married someone else 8 months later. The guy who said, "I don't believe in monogamy, but I'd make an exception for you," and then didn't. They all wore different faces. But they came from the same root. Me, waiting for someone to choose me, while pretending I wasn't already bleeding. That week, I stopped pulling cards. Not because I stopped believing in tarot, but because I finally realized the cards weren't the problem. The interpretation was. When I pulled the moon, I saw mystery, romance, deep emotional layers. What it actually meant. Illusion. Deception. Things not being what they seem. I'd been romanticizing warnings. Treating red flags like Easter eggs. I cleaned my altar. Not because I was resetting my energy, but because I wanted to stop pretending I was still waiting for a sign. The signs had been there. They were text messages. Avoided questions. Half-hearted compliments. Conversations that ended with, "Let's not ruin the vibe." Silences that lasted just long enough for doubt to take root. Zara came over with wine and frozen pizza. She found me reorganizing my crystals like they'd personally betrayed me. "So, are we hexing him or healing through it?" I looked up and said, "Neither. I'm graduating from witch school." She laughed. But I wasn't joking. I'm done playing oracle for men who already know what they're doing. What if they do? Then I'm really done, because I'm not a rehab for half-grown people. She poured the wine. "You know what I hate the most?" "What?" "That you didn't even like him that much." And she was right. I didn't. I liked what he reflected back at me. That I was deep. Spiritual. Not like other girls. He mirrored my glow. Then ran the moment it demanded substance. And I kept reaching for the mirror instead of the truth. I opened Instagram. Check the video again. 250K views. I scrolled through the comments. One stood out. "I left a man like this last year. He said I was controlling for asking if we were exclusive." Another. "My ex pulled a card for us too. It was the fool. I thought it meant innocence. Turns out it was me." And then. This story saved me from texting mine back. "Thank you." I stared at that last one. Because suddenly I realized. My spiral wasn't a breakdown, it was a broadcast. And someone out there was finally hearing what I had refused to tell myself for years. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need closure. I needed to stop reading signs in men who'd already shown me who they were. but never once asked who I was. And that truth didn't come from a tarot deck. It came from me. He tried to report my TikTok. Like emotional manipulation isn't allowed to be content now. It started as a joke. I uploaded another video a week later. Hair in a bun, hoodie on, no makeup, candle flickering in the background. This one's for the girls who keep pulling the lover's card and thinking it means he's gonna commit, when really, it's just the universe asking if you'll finally pick yourself. I didn't expect much, but it hit 1 million views in 3 days. The comments exploded. Why is this me? She's reading me harder than my therapist. I used to be her. Now I'm healing with her voice in my head. Suddenly, I wasn't just healing. I was helping people. And it felt good. Like actually good. Not alignment good. Not he texted back good. Like real power. I started a series, Tarot for Girls Who Already Know the Answer. Episode 3, You Pulled the World but He Still Has You Spinning. Episode 5, Stop pulling cards for him, pull one for the version of you that doesn't beg. Episode 6. That one went extra viral. Because it was titled, This Reading is for Aubrey. I didn't name names. Didn't show receipts. But I pulled 3 cards on live. The Fool, the 7 of Swords, the Tower. I laid them down like a trail of bodies. This isn't for the woman he lied to. It's for the woman he's lying with, because eventually the charm wears off. And all that's left is the realization that you were never the chosen one, just the next one. People lost their minds. No way she didn't name her directly. She said Aubrey without saying Aubrey. I know exactly who this is for, and she's watching. Spoiler. She was. That night, Connor texted, You've made your point. I didn't answer. He tried again. This is harassment. Harassment. Sir. You picked her name. I just picked a better platform. Then he emailed me. Yes, emailed. I've been advised to ask you to stop referencing our relationship in public content. I laughed out loud. Because he once said, No one owns the truth, we just interpret it. So I did. And now that my interpretation was going viral, he wanted a cease and desist. Absolutely not. I posted another video. Wearing the scarf. Staring into the camera. Holding one card, Justice. Tonight's reading is for the men who are suddenly uncomfortable when the women they lied to find their voice. Hear your message. You don't get to spiritualize betrayal and then panic when it trends. That one. 2.3 million views. Even Zara made a reaction video. This is what happens when you date a Pisces with a podcast and no moral compass. They get outed by the cards they ignored. Aubrey DM'd me. Just a heart emoji. Then, I didn't know it started before me. He said you were just a past chapter. I almost ignored it. But I didn't. I replied, We were the prologue, you were the footnote, he was never the story. She didn't write back. Didn't need to. A week later, TikTok emailed me. My content had been featured in their Breakup Survival playlist. I cried. Not from pain. From relief. Because after all the gaslighting, all the you're being too sensitive, all the you're misreading the signs, the world was finally validating the version of me I'd been burying under soft girl spirituality. People started emailing. A woman in Missouri. I played your video for my daughter. She broke up with her manipulative boyfriend the next day. A girl in Toronto. He said I was spiritually ready for his love. I left. I pulled cards after. They all said you were right. A mom in San Diego. I'm 46, divorced, and just now realizing how long I confused emotional confusion for chemistry. Thank you. So no, I didn't stop. I turned the whole thing into a full series. And when people asked, "Aren't you scared he'll sue you?" I just pulled the wheel of fortune and smiled. Not when the karma already started spinning. They say closure comes from within. Mine came from a 3-card spread, 2 million views, and finally realizing that the most sacred boundary is a woman who no longer explains herself. I don't pull cards for men anymore. Not because I've stopped believing in tarot, but because I've stopped believing that love needs decoding. If I have to ask the universe if he's lying, he's already lying. If I have to pull the moon and wonder if it's my intuition or anxiety, it's both, and both are screaming at me to leave. Tarot didn't fail me. I failed myself every time I asked the cards a question I already knew the answer to. I wasn't seeking guidance. I was seeking permission. Permission to trust my gut. Permission to let go. Permission to stop shrinking my needs into something vibrationally palatable. Connor was never the villain. He was just a soft-voiced delay. A lesson in self-trust. A poetic detour I tried to turn into a destination. I spent so long reading between his lines. I stopped reading mine. And now, I write my own story. No deck required. I still keep my cards. I still light candles. But now I don't ask, what does he feel? I ask, what do I know? And the answer is always the same. If you need a sign, his name shouldn't be the one you're pulling. You know what else I learned? That numbing pain publicly isn't toxic. It's not immature. It's not airing dirty laundry. It's reclaiming authorship. For so long, I thought being silent made me graceful. That forgiveness meant not telling the truth. But silence isn't grace when it protects the person who harmed you. And forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means healing so loudly, no one gets to rewrite what you survived. I don't check his social anymore. I don't wonder what Aubrey's doing. I don't relive that night with the scarf and the card and the word A. I remember it, but it doesn't burn. Now it just glows. A scar, not a wound. A reminder that next time I feel that first flicker of this doesn't feel right, I won't pull a card. I'll pull away. My final reading. It came the night I hit 1 million followers. I pulled a single card. The Queen of Swords. Direct. Sharp. Clear. Wise not in spite of the pain, but because of it. I laughed. Sipped tea. Blew out the candle. And whispered to the universe. Thank you, but I'll take it from here. Subscribe to my Mia's Stories YouTube channel for raw, emotional stories and authentic insights that encourage healing, growth, and understanding. Don't forget to be part of a supportive space where stories inspire and lessons resonate. What do you think about this story? Let us know in the comments. Your opinion truly matters to us, and we're here for you.